Hello, everyone. My name is Davinia. I am the founder of Damn Good Business. I am a chartered accountant and financially grounded business coach working with small business owners to help them get clarity over their business numbers to build their own damn good business. A question that lots of female founders feel uncomfortable with is how much should I charge? Now, pricing is a big piece of work. There's lots of things involved, thinking about the psychology of buyers and sellers, demand. But for most of us, a really important place to start is, well, what do I need? So I've created a tool that can help you to work out a kind of base rate, a starting point. It may bring up some feelings, but it's data backed, giving you something solid to start with. You can access the exact spreadsheet that I'm using for free. Check out the link in the description to join my newsletter. You'll also get access to the Damn Good Business Club, a whole range of free resources that are designed to help you build a damn good business. So let's have a look. So let me share my screen. So this has been built in Google Sheets. If you don't have a Google account, it's definitely worth setting one up because you could do some cool stuff and use a lot of the free storage to help you in your business, as I explain in another one of my videos. But you can do it for free, even if you just want to go in and have a look at it as a starting point. So, quick disclaimer, this calculator does not count as personalized tax or accounting advice. It's for educational purposes. So it's to give you a starting point. And we're going to try and find a minimum hourly rate that we need to charge. Now, if you're accessing this, I always recommend you make your own copy of it. So you can see up here, I've made a copy, so you can go in and play around with it. No one else can see your numbers. If you want to check out other things I do, there we go. That was my webpage link. So damngoodbusiness.com. But we're going to come down and have a look at getting started. So we're going to click on get started, and that will take you through to the first tab. So things that we need to consider. There's a whole series of questions. Now, my goal was that you can work through this spreadsheet on your own. You don't need me there. But I've done this video because I want to make sure that you feel completely comfortable. Now, remember, you can't break this. And if you do, you can just download another one. That's the best way to do it. So you're creating your own copy. You can have a play around with what is in there. So as it says, the blue cells are the ones that you should put your numbers into. So these ones down here, there's some questions that we want to be asking about. If you don't know, or you're not quite sure what a question means, you have got links here to support notes. Essentially, these are the next tab along in your spreadsheet. So you can think about some questions. So we will look at those together in turn. So first question, the place that we are starting is, well, how much would you like to have in your bank account each month? Now, if you go through this and the numbers don't work out, you can come back and do this multiple times. But the starting point is, well, how much would you like for everything non-business? So think about your rent, your electricity, utility bills, but also the fun things like gym membership or holidays, savings, pension, things like that. So any of those can go in. And so you can see examples in terms of your essentials and then quality of life things. Now, as a starting point, we don't need to go too crazy. If you want to put in, 100 grand a month, by all means, do it. You'll see where the numbers come out. It's going to be based on, taking all of this into account. But to stop you from being overwhelmed, I really do recommend you start with thinking, okay, what's my minimum level? And that's going to help you to then build out a business structure that keeps those essentials covered and keeps you comfortable without adding too much pressure if you know that's something that you struggle with. So you can do this kind of essentials only version and then a fully funded dream life version with some bigger numbers. But to start with, think about what you need. And so I'm saying, you know what, I think I need about £3,000 per month. So I pop in my 3,000 and I'm done. Now, the next question, very important one, is how many weeks holiday would you like to have each year? So I've assumed 6. So for perspective, if you were in a fully paid employed role, you get 5.6 weeks is kind of how it officially works out, holiday a year. So round it up to six. So let's say 6 weeks worth of holiday. If you know that you have additional caregiving responsibilities, you want to think about school holidays, you can play around with that number. But as a baseline, 6 weeks is normally a good place for that kind of essential life, maybe phase one, phase two. Now, next question. How many hours do you have available to do, on average, billable work each week? Now, what we've got to remember here is that not all of the work that we do is billable. We can't charge someone else for it. So we're thinking here about service-based businesses. And if you are, responding to emails, client queries, your own marketing, emailing, networking, paying bills online, those are things that aren't billable. So we are looking at your billable time. Now, again, average working week, we are looking at about 35 to 40 hours, depending on whether you're thinking about a 7 to 8 hour day. For a lot of you, if you're working for yourself, that's not how things work. But we have to bear in mind it's not all going to be billable. So I've got in here a starting point of about 24 hours. So that's not one solid day. I'm not doing it in one go. But we are thinking of kind of 4, 5 hours a day across the week. But again, you need to have a think about what's going on. If you need help, check out those support notes. So you can think about 3 to 5 billable hours a day is a good range. Again, start at the lower end if you're not sure. We don't want to be pushing things too high. And again, play around with some different numbers, see what happens. Then once we've got that in, we're going to think about our breathing space. Now, I'm a teacher and an accountant. So I have got a large amount of what I would call prudence in here. I like to plan ahead. I like to underestimate, building in buffers and caution here. So thinking about time that you're not going to be able to work because you're off sick, life, just lifing. There's going to be lots of different things that could happen that are going to impact your ability to work. Now, I've put in here 4% as your starting point, just because if you were in, an employed role, you would normally get, say, 10 days sick a year. And that would be approximately 4% of the time that you're working. So popping that in, the higher the number, the bigger the buffer, the more flexibility you're going to have about not having to worry. But if you're looking for a kind of just essentials, I would genuinely recommend 4% rather than 0. So I'm going to leave that at 4 for now. You know what? I'm going to put it up to 5% because, as I said, I'm a little bit cautious there. And then thinking about your business, we need to be thinking about your business costs. So that first number, that 3,000 up at the top, nothing to do with your business. That was just you costs as a person, household, life, kind of personal perspective. This is about your business. So thinking about business insurance, if you've got to have any professional memberships, your subscriptions, whether that be ChatGPT, Microsoft 365, Trello, whatever they are, MailChimp, all of those things going in, website costs. We want to look at those each month. Again, if you need some help, check out the support questions. So you've got here, what are my actual business overheads? You've got some examples. If you don't know, it's a really good opportunity to go in and have a look at your most recent bank statements, see what is in there, and then do a list of what you've kind of got going out on a monthly, quarterly, or annual basis. Watch out for those annual costs. And then work out what that's going to be on a monthly level. So when I go through and I look at all my subscriptions, taking into account IT, tech, website, professional membership for the Institute, things like that, it's working out at about 1,200 a month. So that's not paying myself anything still. This is just looking at the kind of the business costs when we look at it. So once you've got those numbers in, and again, this is just our starting point, we're going to go and have a look at our next step. So that is, you can click on the next step here, or you're going along to tab number 3. Now, what we've got to bear in mind, sadly, is that we have to pay tax. Now, tax is a good thing. I know I'd say that as an accountant. But tax, you pay tax when you're making money, when you're making a profit, and things like national insurance contributes to the general running of the country, however well you believe that is being done. But we want to make sure we're factoring that in as a small business so that we are not taking that money out of what's left over at the end. We kind of want to add it on before we're taking anything out so that it's factored into our rates and prices. So you have some examples here, and this is just about getting an approximation. This is not exact. This is not going to tell you exactly how much tax you're going to have to pay or anything like that. It is just a guide to help you work out what you should be adding on. So again, education, not tax advice. Tax rates are complicated. You may have seen some of them different levels depending on how much you are earning, based on your profitability. So depending on where you are, your profits, it kind of depends how much tax you're going to be paying. So you want to be thinking what is worth putting in. So you've got two options. You've got a planning rate and you've got a cautious rate. Again, the exact level you pay depends on how many expenses you have, for example. Every business is different. You should speak to your trusted finance professional about it. But as a guide, I'm going to say here, cautious rate for most people looking at income and profits up to about 50K. So that's where most people might be sitting as a small business. And I've already told you I'm cautious, so I'm going to go for 29%, which is in there. You can change that. You could put 30, 32. You can put any number you want in. But those numbers there are a guide to help you to do that calculation. So leaving that at 29. Dun, dun, dun. What do I do? Well, I now go into that final page, tab 4, and it tells me my minimum hourly rate would be £61.92. Now, if you see whatever number it throws out and go, oh my God, I could never charge that, don't panic. This is just a starting point. This is just, this is data. You're going to get a number and you're going to see how that feels. Probably going to be higher than you think. Women particularly are notorious for undercharging, undervaluing themselves. But it could be something that you want to be working towards. If you are like, hands down, I know I could never charge that, then we got to go back and we got to do a little bit of playing around. So coming back to, okay, I only wanted to charge 24 hours a week. Okay, I'm going to have to try and put a bit more chargeable client work into my week. So I reckon I can put 28 hours a week in there. And actually, if I go and look at my business expenses, yeah, you know what? I can get rid of some of those subscriptions. I don't need them. I can get rid of that. So I reckon I can probably get my business expenses down to about £1,000 a month. And yeah, saying I was going to save this amount of money or have that many holidays, probably don't need that many. So I'm going to put that down to about 2,800 a month. Still sticking with my 6%, still sticking with my 5%, my 6 weeks holidays, still sticking with my 5%. What does that do? And I come back in and have a look and you can see that that hourly rate has changed. So you don't need to do anything else. You're just playing with those blue box numbers on tabs 2 and 3. So they're the only ones you're playing around with. You may notice there is a beautiful back office don't touch. Please make sure you don't play around with anything in that tab because it will play around with the spreadsheet and you might break something and then you'll need to download it again and it all gets very annoying. But idea here is when you're looking at that and you're thinking, that's a bit high, you can come in and you can play around with this. You can manage your costs. You can play around with the amount of time that you've got. If you realize actually you could definitely charge that or you're already charging more than that, then start to spec it out. I want to have 10% breathing space. I want to have 8 weeks holiday a year and I only want to be charging out 20 hours a week. Bills haven't changed. What's going to happen? My hourly rate has changed. So this is your starting point. It's about helping you make an informed decision to rely less on emotion and try and be objective with this. So you've got something to back up what your worth is in your business. And then you can make some informed decisions. So as I said, if you want to have a go playing with this spreadsheet yourself, you can. The link to sign up and get access is down in the description box. So you get to join the Damn Good Business Club. You get access to this and lots of other resources that are there to help you to build a damn good business. So my name is Davinia. It's been an absolute pleasure walking you through my rates calculator. If you've got any questions, please do get in touch and check out more resources available in the Damn Good Business Club at www.damngoodbusiness.com. See you soon.